Shalom everyone and Shavua Tov. We are in a special week. It's a week that we read Parashat Tisa in the Torah, and we're also celebrating Purim during this week. And it's not by mistake, because these two stories somehow coincide with each other, and it's not by mistake. Let's try to explain what is Parashat Tisa about. So, just from reading, if we really read Parashat Tisa, it's an amazing parasha. It's starting with few stories. There's a few stories into it. It's not stories, but topics. Parashat Tisa starts on Exodus chapter 30, verse 11. And then it speaks, the beginning is about the half a shekel, the donation of the contribution of half a shekel. That basically, that part was, we already read a few weeks ago, Parashat Shkalim, before Chodesh Adar. Why? Because you have to give the half a shekel contribution, which is the worth of 12 grams of silver, which this year is about 20 shekels. You have to give as a donation before the reading of the Megillah. And we explained that this is very important because the shekel, it says as follows, whoever is part of the nation, 20 years old till 50, till 60, מחצית השקל, half a shekel, בשקל הקודש, of the holy shekel, 20 gira shekel. And the shekel was divided at that time to 20 units. They were called gira. Today it's called agora. Gira, agora. So, but today in the Hebrew, in the modern shekel, you have 100 agorot in 1 shekel. In the ancient times, it was 20 units, 20 gira, and 120. We explained. It says, כל העובר על הפיקודים, בין 20 שנה ומעלה. Here it says from 20 up, everybody should give that contribution. העשיר לא ירבה, if you're rich, you should not give one more than half a shekel. והדל, if you're poor, you should not give less than half a shekel. That's the half a shekel. לתת את תרומת השם לכפר נפשותיכם. So, which means if you're rich, you cannot give 11. You should give 10 gira. And if you're poor, you cannot give 9. You have to give 10, because you have to give 10. That reminds us, Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation, related to Abraham, and it says over there that there are 10 sephirot, 10 dimensions, 10 spheres in the universe, 10 dimensions that beyond, most of them are beyond our 5 senses, and of that, 10, not 9, 10, not 11. Which means, why the shekel, why should you give half a shekel? Give a whole shekel already. You know, how much is a shekel? 20 20 modern Hebrew shekels, like Israeli shekel. That's not, what can you buy with that? Maybe if you go to some places in Jerusalem, you can buy 2 falafels, right? You can buy 2 falafels. I don't think you can buy 2 falafels with that in New York. But, okay, so what's the whole thing? And we learned that if you want to get a wholenessness in your life, and wholenessness, something that is whole, has 10 sephirot in it. It is made of 10 sephirot. You have also, in order for that, the light, the shining light of the 10 sephirot, the Creator will give it to you. You just have to want it, you have to desire it, you have to crave for it, and you have to acquire it and believe in yourself, but that's not enough. If you want to have 10, you have to give 10. And that's why it's 20. Everything in our lives is made of 20. It's made of 20. 10, how much do you want to receive? And 10, how much you have to give of yourself so you can get 10. And we learned in Parashat Tetzaveh that the Zohar said there is 10 sfirot, 10 levels of amazing, powerful light the Creator is giving to each one of us, but this is a dark light till we awaken from within also 10 levels of sharing from ourselves. And when we do that, we create a vessel that allows the 10 sfirot of the light of the Creator to shine. Then it becomes from dark light to white, shining light that can be felt and can be seen. So, amazing part, and this is just in the week of Purim, that this is the week to give the half a shekel, right? And what was the half a shekel? During the time of the temple, it was for the temple. Everybody gave something because somebody had to pay, and the whole nation had to be part of it. As we said, the rich man could not give more than 10, than half a shekel, and the poor not less. So everybody has equal share in the sacrifices in the temple. Today, we don't have sacrifices in the temple. So everybody can share the half a shekel with his own community, with his own synagogue, with his own community center, whatever, because that's the community that everybody gives an equal share. You give because basically that's how you get. Okay, but that's one story, one topic. Immediately after that, we have in the same parasha, which is, we read in chapter 30 in Exodus, verse 22, and then it says, "V'atakach lecha besamim rosh modro," and you should take for yourself perfumes. Okay, and what are they? So there's a list of them. One of them, everybody knows, cinnamon was part of it. Okay, and there was, and then you made from it an ointment based on olive oil, and all the holy artifacts of the tabernacle were anointed. That was shemen hamishcha. From that, the word mishcha, to anoint, comes the word Mashiach. And Mashiach, Messiah, means the anointed one. And what does it mean? So we spoke about it last week. Last week's parasha, Parashat Tetzaveh, what did we say? It starts with Ve'ata Tetzaveh, and you should order. Taking what? The olive oil. And why the ordering? What's the ordering about? So we learned, the Zohar is explaining to us, we are here to become co-creators in this world. So you do an action, you can just do the action, but if you you want to do it completely in both universes, in the spiritual and also in the physical, you have to order the spiritual, godly light into what you do. And that's why, when we prepare food for Shabbat, we said, what do? You say, Lichvot Shabbat Kodesh. You order in that moment that the holiness of Shabbat goes into the food you're making. You're preparing the Shabbat table, you put the tablecloth, the white tablecloth, you say Lichvot Shabbat Kodesh. At that moment, you have to have the kavanah, the consciousness, to order the holiness of Shabbat into your Shabbat table. Everything you prepare for Shabbat, you prepare like the oil for the candle lighting and even the ptilot, the wicks. You have to say that. And by this, you anoint everything you do. So anointing means not just a physical oil that you use, it's also, we learn from the Zohar, it's also that consciousness that by you, a person has to order the holiness into whatever you do. When you bring in that order, when you put it in, that's how you do it. And that's the ointment. And that's what we understand. What does it mean, a messianic era? When everybody understands his duty as a co-creator, that whatever you do, when it says you're going to be a holy nation and a nation of Kohanim, of priests. So Rav Brandwein, Rav Ashlag's main student, he continued the translation of the Zohar that we have, the last few volumes of the Zohar of Perush HaSulam, they're made by Rav Brandwein. And he said, how can everybody be a nation of Kohanim? There's no place in the Beit HaMikdash, in the temple. Let's say Mashiach comes, the temple comes from the Beit HaMikdash, it's coming from heaven. Still, as big it will be, we're millions. And he says, no, in Mashiach times, Rabbi once said that basically he was the first rabbi of the unions in Israel, who was anti-religious. In 1957, he becomes the chief rabbi of the unions in Israel. So he was saying, when every worker goes to work with that consciousness of Beit HaMikdash, a temple work, in his work. And we said it a few times, you go to do some errands here and there, you deal with some bureaucrats from officers here and some companies, everybody treats you like you're visiting the temple, and he is the priest, and he's giving you that feel of wholeness and holiness when you're coming out. What do you say? Messiah has come, right? Mashiach is here. Why? Because that's what Rabbi Man is saying. Being a nation of priests means that every person around the world, when they do their job with awe and excitement, like a priest in the temple serving God, we are going to experience, that's how we're going to experience Messiah. Because if somebody is going to come and say, I'm the Messiah, hey guys, stop a minute, I'm the Messiah, you should acknowledge me and that I'm the Messiah. Okay, wow, very exciting, and then you have to go to work, you have to bring food to you. Messiah is not going to do it for you. And even if he is, still the stuff you have to organize. Okay? And still you need people's service everywhere you go. And if people are going to stay not nice to each other and not serving each other and not doing what they're supposed to do, no matter what job they're doing, because, a whole empire can fall because of a nail, that somebody didn't nail it properly. And then instead of doing your job, you have to deal with that nail because somebody didn't nail it properly. Correct? When everybody will do, and by the way, it's also the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, when he was asked, when is Messiah, Mashiach going to come? And he said, when everybody is going to do their job. Very simple. How? With wholeness. So when we're talking about the anointment oil, we're talking about that ability to anoint, which means to draw that power of wholeness into everything you do, because that's your job and you're appointed for that job by the Creator himself. How did you become a CEO of this company? How did you become a carpenter in that neighborhood? Who anointed you? The Creator anointed you. Nothing happens just by fun or by coincidence or mere coincidence. Everything is orchestrated properly. The question is, you can bring the horse to the bucket, but can you force him drink? You can bring the person to his rightful, proper position. Can you force him do his job with perfection? No. That belongs to each one of us. Nobody can do it for us. But there is a hint over here. It says when you take those incense or perfumes or whatever you name it, it says Ve'ata, and I'm reading chapter 30, verse 23. Ve'ata, and you should kaf lecha, take besamim, which means all these spicy smelling, good smell spices. Rosh, one of them is called Rosh, which I don't see, what does it mean? Okay, Rosh, ahead of Mordor. Mordor. What do you mean Mordor? Mor, we know it's mir. Mir, that's a spice. Mm-hmm. Okay? If you go to Onkelos translation into Aramaic, it says Mordor, it translates Mira Dachya. Mira Dachya. That is, says the Ari, Mordechai. What is mor? Mor is the spice, the smell, the incense. Dachya means in Aramaic pure incense, pure spice. So what is Mordechai? Was Mordechai a person? Or was it just a force, a cosmic force, like the anointing oil, that simply came to this world, and Mordechai, the person, was just a representative of that power? When we go to Rabbi Zakluria, he says, when we talk about the Megillah in Shara Kavanot, the gate of meditations, he says, when we talk about the secret of the Purim, and he says, let us come to the explanation, Inyan Yamei HaPurim, the issue of the days of Purim, והמגילה, and the Megillah, the parchment of Esther, והמרדכי, and the Mordechai. If you're talking about a person, you say Mordechai and Mordechai. If you add the, so Mordechai is not a person, Mordechai is an item. So it's something. What is that Mordechai that the Rabbi Ezekloya calls it the Mordechai? Right? Whoever knows Hebrew, you never say on a person the Mordechai, you say Mordechai as a person. He calls Mordechai an item, an object, an issue. And here we learn that he's explaining. When we talk, Mordechai means that pure incense that is in the anointment oil. So when we're talking about Mordechai, so you see, Parashat Ki Tisa is giving us hint by hint about Purim. So it's not by mistake we read Parashat Ki Tisa connecting to Purim. Just a second, we didn't finish with it. So about anointing everything, which means bringing holiness into everything we do, we continue with that. And then there is let's continue. And after that, the next issue is Shmot Lamed, the book of Exodus chapter 30, and here, verse 34, Vayomer Hashem el Moshe kach lecha samim. Here's the story of the Ktoret HaSamim, the incense of the temple, the 11 different spices in the incense, that the Zohar says that in Parashat Vayakel, there is nothing more powerful than reading the story of the incense that is in this parasha. Why? Because it has an immense power to remove any kind of negativity. So if you're in trouble, read the incense. Where is it? The whole complete thing in every prayer book, in a Siddur, just before the Ana B'Koach. In the morning prayer, in the beginning, just before the Ana B'Koach. So, and the Zohar says this is the prayer that has, it's not a prayer, it's a description of the incense. But when you read it, you awaken something in the world that has the power to remove negativity. For instance, when there's a plague, when there's a disease, when anything that is unusually negative, that has the power to overcome. That's why we say it every morning in the beginning of the prayer, because during the prayer, we're not just telling God how great He is. He's great anyway, don't worry. What we're doing during the prayer, we're trying to elevate ourselves to a place in which we're more receptible to receive the light of the Creator. However, before liftoff, we're going so high, we want to be protected from negativity, and the story of the incense is protecting us when we go up. And then we have the story of the incense again in the end of the tefillah, which is, as we go down, says Rabbi Ezekloya Adari, as we go down, we come with so much light, again, we can be tempted into negativity. So you have that protection shidor, again, reading the incense. Now, after that, the Creator tells Moses, here are the two people who are going to be responsible for the work of the temple, of the tabernacle. Okay, and they will do whatever I will tell you. You're just explaining to them. And he gives all the different parts of the tabernacle. And then Shabbat. Why Shabbat? We already had Shabbat. We had Shabbat in Parashat Ito on Mount Sinai, Eser Adibot was Shabbat. Then we had another time on Shabbat when in Beshalach, after the speaking in the Red Sea, again there was a whole thing about Shabbat. And then we have another time. And here it says, Ushmartem, verse 14 in chapter 31. Ushmartem et ha-Shabbat ki kodesh yilachem, mechalelei amot yumat. And then he says, Veshamru bnei Yisrael, verse 16, Veshamru bnei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לאותם בית עולם. That's what you say in the Kiddush every Shabbat morning. In every Jewish household around the world, that you do Kiddush, you say the verses from here. So why Shabbat all over again? And we have to understand. It says that the Creator always creates the remedy before the disease. It's always there. Because immediately after the Shabbat, verse 18, ויתן אל משה בכלותו לדבר איתו. So, the Creator finished talking to Moses, and he gives him on Mount Sinai the two tablets, which means till this moment, all what we read from Parashat Yitro, Mishpatim, Tetzaveh, and now Kitisa, Truma, Tetzaveh, Kitisa, we're still on Har Sinai. We're still in the Mount Sinai revelation. So can you imagine? We are still in that awesome moment of revelation, that the whole nation of Israel is there connecting to that consciousness of unity, and that resulted into immortality. As it says, Paska zu amatam, the sin of the snake was finished, completed on that moment. And then the legend says, on Har Sinai, or Mount Sinai, they saw the angel of death taking in cuffs into captivity. No more death. So I don't know how long, but when you realize that there's no death anymore, how long would you go around feeling high? As a parent, knowing that you don't have to bother anymore if your child is going to suffer death anymore. As a child, that your parents are going to be there forever. As a spouse, you know that the person you love the most is going to be there forever. Okay? All of this stuff, and most of all, that you're not going to die ever, because dying means losing it, falling. That from now, the way is only up the hill. How long would you feel this excitement of, we are free, we are free? And in this parasha, that's where it says that Moses came with the tablets, and it was freedom on the tablets. Because it says charut al haluchot, but it says chet reish vav taf, which means freedom, and not, as the brain says, engraved, chet reish vav tet. Okay? And we spoke about it. So Moses is getting the tablets and getting ready to go down, and then, as like any good movie, while this is happening, the frame changes to chapter 32, verse 1. והיה העם כי בושש משה לרדת מן ההר. And the nation saw that Moses is late coming down from the mountain. Somebody lost the counting of the days. Moshe Rabbeinu said, I'm going to come 40 days from now, 6 hours after sunrise. Okay? Boshesh means late, but Boshesh, you can read it also Beshesh, at 6. Beshesh. Okay? Vayikael ha'am al Aaron, and then Rashi says there's a midrash that Satan himself orchestrated a very weird show. Suddenly everything became dark. Waves of clouds came, dark clouds, and then they saw like a funeral up in heaven, and everybody was totally mixed up, and people started to go around saying, oh my God, Moshe has died. 40 days without food and without drink. Nobody sent him any catering up there. That's Mount Sinai. I don't know if you've been to Mount Sinai, if whatever they call it Mount Sinai, if this is, but Sinai desert, it's a desert. It's really extension of the Sahara Desert. Okay, it's very, very dry. It's rarely raining, and especially not in June, which was the time of the Mount Sinai revelation. There's no way. Okay, so it's probably dead. Everybody got really upset, freaked out, and you know what happens when you freak out? All terrible things can come out when we do that. Death comes back. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about being in a place with all of this awesome experience. 10 plagues, getting out of Egypt, splitting the Red Sea, being on Mount Sinai, experiencing no death anymore. Nobody dies. Nobody falls. Everybody has total certainty and connection to the creator and to the creation and awareness of what am I doing over here, like you're in heaven and you didn't die. Right? Almost. Mount Sinai, we had this near-death experience, but that was short. So what do? You freak out. That's what happened. We freaked out. We got scared. And you know, when you get into lachatz, into pressure, into stress, and you lose your line of connection. And that line of connection, that line in Hebrew is called kav. And when you have a kav, that state of mind that you have a kav, a line up to the heavens, is called tikva. Wrongly translated into hope. Oh, I hope. Nothing to do with tikva. Tikva means you are connected. You're connected. What does it mean? You have certainty because you have that line inside, and the fact that other people don't have it, that doesn't bother you. That's what tikva is about. It's about that, keeping that line awake. Keeping that line there. As long as that line is there and you maintain it and it doesn't cut off, what is cutting off? Lafsik. Pasek. Pasek is the same letters of safek, doubt. What is doubt doing? Cutting off the line. Okay? So everything had to collapse. Everything fell apart. Death came back to the world just by losing the line. Now we had to wait how many years? So we're talking about 408 years from that time. 480 years till the building of the temple. Another 420 years to the destruction of the temple. So we're talking about how many? We already have 1,000, right? Almost 1,000, 900 years. Yeah. 900 years. 70 more years of the exile after the first temple, which means 970 years exactly later. It's exactly the opposite. Here comes Haman, the Agagite, and Amalek, and he makes the king of Persia, the Persian Empire, from India all the way to Sudan. Okay, 127 states. And you make the king put a death warrant for all Jews in the empire. There's nowhere to run away to. Everything is under Persian rule. There's now sure death to everyone. And then Rabbi Zechariah is telling us, why is it like this? Because there was a time for an awakening, for redemption. Another time, another opportunity. The problem is, what happened before the Exodus? 210 horrible years of slavery, right? The Egyptians were killing people right and left. They were throwing all the baby boys into the Nile. Like, it was horrible. In order to achieve freedom, you need to go through terrible mud, devastating mud, so you really can fight for your freedom and can really appreciate your freedom. It's like, nobody ever gave birth just while drinking tea, afternoon tea. Oh, I just was drinking my tea and it came out, my baby. Oh, so nice you came. Okay, let's take him to his bed, whatever you prepared. It doesn't happen this way, right? You have 9 months of caring, worrying, the burden, the heartburn, some vomiting. Oh, it doesn't happen just, we had the tea and the baby came. Oh, so cute of him. Just came, so nice. I'm so excited about it. No, it doesn't happen this way. Never happened that the baby was born in between contractions, right? A baby is born only within a contraction, when it's the most painful, right? The hardest. That's how it happens. That's what life is about. It's about turning the darkness into light. You can have it comfortable, easy, and exciting. Sorry. Doesn't work. It's against the rules. No pain, no gain. Okay? The question is, if you have tikva, When you have a line of faith and connection, then the pain will become a gain. If you don't, it will kill you. The pain kills you, because then you get despair. And despair is the cut off of the line. It will never be ever, ever, ever. It's just going down the hill from now. This is despair. This is cutting off the line. Two people in the same situation. Both are going through pain. One is excited about life coming in, and one is so miserable because he is sure he's going to die. It's not about the amount of pain, it's about the hope that you have. So we get another opportunity. 970 years later. Death warrant to all Jews in the world. By whom? Amalek. And what does he say? He comes to the king, Ahasuerus, and he's saying, let's kill all of the Jews because they are spread and separated. They're disunited. They're not united. Everybody's against everybody. Everybody's busy with his own interests, and he doesn't care about the others. The heck with the others. Me first. No machatzit shekel. No, no half a shekel. And machatzit is, again, the word machatzit is amazing because there's a code in it. Machatzit, half the shekel, but half the shekel is, you can say chetzi shekel. What's machatzit? If you take the word machatzit, is mem, chet, tzadik, yud, taf. Now, it's all about tzedakah. That's the middle letter. The middle letter of the word machatzit is tzadik, tzedakah, charity. Charity will save from death. Now, whoever is close to charity, is really connected to charity, having life. How do you know? The two letters that are close to the tzaddik, one on the right is chet, the one on the left is yud. What do you get? Chai. So whoever is touching charity, is holding on to the charity, is alive. Whoever is far away, the two letters far away from the word, from the letter tzaddik. That's a mem and a taf, which is met, dead. You're touching charity, you're alive. You're far away from charity, you're dead. Very simple. So nobody's giving, nobody cares, everybody is so busy because, the world in that time was like, in a way, like the world after World War II. The bad guys were beaten up, the Babylonians, the good guys came into power. There's multiculturalism. They allow everyone to do whatever they want, which means you want to be Jewish, you go to Cyrus, King Cyrus says, you want to be Jewish? Here are the tools of the temple. You get a permit, go and build Jerusalem. Who goes to build Jerusalem? Few people go, everybody else. We're now in the middle of the business right now. We are just everywhere. We live in the middle of Wall Street, Hollywood. Why should we go to this forsaken place, Jerusalem? What's Jerusalem? Everybody fights over there. It's so provincial. We're in the middle of the action. Let's stay over here. And then death warrant to everyone when nobody expected, right? Haman issues a death warrant, so he wanted everything very organized. There were these guys in Europe wanted to kill the Jews, but very organized. So he needed 12 months for this. So 12 months from today, all the Jews in the empire will be executed in one day. So we have to organize it, 12 months, okay? Oh, would they resist? No. Says the Ari, he made the lottery, Purim. He didn't play dice. He was an astrologer. He was a warlock. He looked in the forces of the heaven and he realized there will be one day they're going to be so meek and susceptible, you can take them like sheep to the slaughter and they would not resist. They would not run away. And the world will stay silent. And he chose a day, the 13th of Adar, 12 months later. But then it says he was so excited, he was so happy, celebrating with his family and with all his friends. But then he says, there's one thing that bothers me, Mordechai. So says Dari, why Mordechai? And he explains, what did we say? Mordechai, this pure spice. Even when a person is asleep, like was that place, just before awakening, just before the building of the second temple, the whole world went into darkness because you have to change strategy. You have to change consciousness. You know, you're trying to solve a problem. You're trying, it's stuck. What do you say? Let's sleep on it. Everything will be different in the morning. And you know what? You wake up in the morning. How come we didn't think about it yesterday? You have to leave in order to come back. You have to turn it off in order to turn it on. And in the spiritual world, it's even stronger than that. Before the awakening of the era of the second temple, the era of the exile had to be turned off. And the Ari calls that time the dormita. In Aramaic, dormitory. It's dormant. The word dormant comes to Latin from Aramaic, and from Aramaic and to Aramaic from Hebrew, tardema, which is the same word. And what happens when you're asleep? You are so susceptible. You don't know what's going around. You're lying in bed, and whoever can come and do whatever they want to you, right? Terrible. Okay? So we were in such a place. Why? Because everything had to get out so a new state of mind can come in. So everybody was out of it, totally asleep. And as the Zohar says, like it is today, most people's consciousness is totally dormant. They're not present. They have no idea what they're doing. They're just running, going, doing errands, back and forth, but they're not really alive. They just exist. They just have to get by and do things, but they're not present. That's why you don't feel you're talking to people that are really there with you. They're so like, I don't know what's going on with me. Haman knew that. And Haman knew another thing. When a person is asleep, there's a little spark of light, a tiny light connected to above, a silver line, that will allow you to wake up. As long as that silver line is alive, you're going to wake up. And that silver line is Mordechai. Is that Vav. This is that line that in the word Tikva. Everything can be so dark, but as long as you have the line, so what if it's dark? We'll make it alive. And how many people in history already did the impossible just because they had the line? And you can do all magic possible the moment you have the line to the Creator. How much power does the Creator have? Endless. The moment you have the line for that, you can do anything. Just as long as you have that line. Haman wanted to kill Mordechai because he wanted to remove that line. He knew as long as that line exists, they still have a hope. But he was too late. When he comes with a death warrant to Mordechai, it's already 3 days after Mordechai and Esther gather all the Jews together and they become one again. Just because of the threat that it was really clear everybody's going to die. And what does it say? That for 3 days they got back to be one. Just think about it. They were giving food to each other. And somebody just said yesterday, I heard it was amazing. How did they trust each other's hechsher? It's like they trusted each other. They simply said, it's time to trust each other. It's all for one and one for all. And 3 days of being like that. And that night, what does it say? Balayla ahu nadeda shnat hamelech. And that night, the king could not sleep. And Rabbi Zachariah is saying, who's the king? He's the king of the universe. Well, I mean, he couldn't sleep. We were in dormant, right? The whole world was dormant. Atrocity could have happened and nobody will notice. Everybody's asleep. Why, you don't see it around? People are being murdered all around the world. All kinds of atrocities are being done in the name of whatever you name it. It doesn't matter. And everybody's asleep. Everybody's asleep. Nothing changed. But the unity woke the light up. And that's why it says, and that night the king could not sleep. Which king? They just finished the dormitory. How do you know? That's the time of dormants. Because when Haman says Yeshno, the sages are saying Yeshno, it means there is a nation. That's a simple explanation, but Yeshno is also Yashen Vav. The Vav is asleep. What is the Vav? It's the letter that looks like a line. That Vav is asleep. And in the Torah, which is the connection to the light, every column looks like a Vav. And at the top of every column, the first letter, except from 5 places in the whole Torah, it starts with a Vav. In a Megillah, the book of Esther, if you really want the best Megillah, it's called Megillat HaMelech, which means every column starts with the word HaMelech, the king. Who is the king? The king of the universe. So when it says, and the king could not sleep anymore, it means we woke the king up. So what was the result? The physical king could not sleep also. And he wakes up, and, a Persian king wakes up. He can't sleep. What does he do? A party, right? No, he wants to read his memoirs. It's so not Persian. Okay? And he opens by coincidence, about the 10 years earlier, Mordechai saved his life, and nobody said thank you. And the king says, we should think, he got this thing, the bug. It bugs him. We have to say thank you. What should we do? Haman is coming in with death warrant to Mordechai. Too late. The king asked him, you are a wise man, Haman, I really like you. What should be done to the person that the king wants to show his thankfulness to him? And Haman thinks, who does the king think about? What? Only one. And he says they should take the horse of the king and dress the person with the dresses of the king, with the crown of the king, the scepter of the king, and somebody really important should go around in the whole capital city and announce, so shall be done to the person the king really likens. And the king says, I always knew that you're so smart. I love you. Mordechai, go do it to him, but the whole list, the whole list. Don't miss one detail. So Mordechai does it. He comes home and his wife says, what happened to you? You look horrible. And Haman tells her the story, and he says, okay, this is the beginning of the fall. You're going to fall. Why? We missed the boat. The time of darkness is over, and we walk it up by be united, which means if the story of the golden calf is turning off that light of immortality, that light of hope, that light of unity, Purim was turning it back on. That's why it says, the time of the Messiah, all the books are going to be taken away because you don't need them anymore, except from the book of Esther, because the light of Purim is the light of the Messiah, which is the light from people waking up and remembering, just a second, first of all, we're here to be together with each other. This is the power of this parasha. So what are the tools, this consciousness that I just spoke about? It's the half a shekel. Do you think it's going to happen just like this, that suddenly, if everybody loves me, I'll love them back? Yeah? How many times we are with the people that really love us, our close family, and we say things, we do things that we sorry. How could I say something like this? You know what? They started. Where are we going to take the power? Where from? To be able to overcome that negativity that we have inside, that Sooner or later, we do something that hurts the people that we love, that really care for us. No, not talking about strangers. We have that negativity inside us. So we have the half a shekel, which means you want 10, give 10. It's not going to happen overnight. You have to train yourself. You have to realize you are in training. And every time you have an opportunity to give of yourself, at work, family, whatever, you're training yourself to be that person that knows to build 10 of giving because you want 10 of receiving, because you want that shining light. That the person that knows how to anoint everything he does so it feels to everyone that, I just experienced Mashiach. Why can't we do little Mashiach actions? Little here, it's contagious because a lot of people start to do that. A lot of people say, you know what? You see somebody doing something with so much excitement, what happens to you? You get excited also. Or you want to rain on his parade. That's also an option. These are the people that the Erev Rav, that negativity of Haman is too strong with them. They can't see somebody happy. They can't see holiness. They had to rain on the parade. And you know what? If you're really doing the job, so they're raining your parade, so you grow flowers under that rain. And you use it to grow. Because there's no other choices. And we all know this is the hardest task in the world. But here the Torah is giving us the remedies together with the disease. We all have these remedies ready for us. We all have the disease inside us. And by bringing in that power of sharing and caring and doing for others unconditionally, it's not unconditionally, we really gain with that. We really achieve a lot with that. It's not, you're not doing a favor to anyone. You're just training yourself. So once you give 1 and then 2 and 3, till you come to the level of giving 10. It's not happening overnight. No, when the time will come, I'll know what to do. You will know. You will not know. You have to train yourself always for that. You always have to train yourself for that. Because when it comes, you have to be ready, and you're not going to be ready. You know that. And that's why they say in the Israeli army, if it's hard in the training, it's going to be easy in the battle. And the battle is every day there's a battle. If you're not training yourself, you don't see that, where are we going to go to? And we have to give an example to others by doing that, because we all fall. You know, we were on Mount Sinai, we fell. We fell. Everybody can fall. Everybody does fall. Even the biggest righteous people, they fall. Lo yeh tzaddik she'aseh tov ba'aretz v'lo yachta. There's no righteous, says that the Tanakh, there's no righteous person that will live on earth without sinning. Everybody falls. Sheva yipol tzaddik v'kam. King Solomon says in Proverbs, a righteous will fall 7 times and get up because he's righteous. Why he would get up? He didn't lose the line when he fell. He was training himself all his life. Even when you fall and you're going to fall, don't lose the line. Because the moment you lose the line, what happens to the Israelites on Mount Sinai? They became a mob. They came and harassed Aaron. Make us a god. What happened with Moses? Without Moses, we lost. Make us a god. The Erev Rav, they use it. They use the opportunity. And you know what? You know, there's all kinds of argument. Only very few people did it, but you know, the majority stood aside without doing anything. That's why it's everybody's responsibility, because the silent majority is also their responsibility. We all have to rise to the occasion and to be there as much as possible. But if we're not going to train ourselves every day with every action, my teacher used to say, why do you give? Why you give? Because you give and you give and you give, because till you're going to come to that consciousness of being able to give 10 and do your tikkun and make the switch of getting immortality into your life instead of death all the time, that's not going to work, that's not going to work, you know, I shouldn't do it because it's not, all of this stuff. The only way is just keep on training, because the battlefield is everywhere. And if you're not training yourself, you're not going to be ready ever, ever. So we have all of these issues to give us the tool of training. So we had the incense. We had, these are tools, amazing tools. You read in Parashat Vayekel in the Zohar about the incense. Amazing. There's so much light coming into it. The meditation on the incense. Just being aware that you can anoint everything you do. That's Mashiach consciousness. When people feel, when they deal with us, that tasted like Mashiach. That's enough. Do you think it's easy? It's hard for all of us. But there's no other goal. There's nothing else. What if you accumulate a lot of stuff that have no Mashiach in it? No anointment in it. It's dead. Piles of dead stuff. So what do you have? Nothing. Dead stuff. What never happened that you go to somebody's house, it's a lot of stuff. But it's boring. You feel like, dead. It happens. Most stuff is dead because people don't know how to give a life into it. You have to train yourself. And then you have Shabbat, which Shabbat is again another opportunity to draw that energy of the endless into our everyday life. So you have a lot of it in this parasha, and how it's connected with Purim. That Purim is exactly the opposite. Here we've been up there, and we fell, and here we fell, and we climbed up there. And what does it say? On Mount Sinai, says the Talmud, it was forced upon us. We were a bunch of slaves. We had no idea what we were going. We just saw the miracle. We just went like a sheep after Moses came to Mount Sinai. Somehow, after, withdrawal, you just don't have anything. You're so excited with this amazing, huge, super Woodstock on Mount Sinai. Everybody loves each other. Why? You have no business to work with each other. You've been slaves, and you're like, wow, it's amazing. All of this party that we're having. Everybody was loving each other. Mount Sinai Revelation, you can see everything, the whole rules of the universe. We said we'll do, and we listen. We have no choice, right? That's why the sages are saying it was forced upon us. We did not really create it, so we lost it. And then the Talmud says the only way to get it is by doing it out of love. Purim, it says, Ki'imu v'kiblu. Naseh v'nishma, the opposite is Ki'imu v'kiblu. The whole nation accepted, did it, and accepted it. Why? Because we chose it, because we liked it, because we wanted it. Yeah, it started with fear, but then we did it out of love. And because we did it out of love, it will stay forever. And that's why Purim will stay forever. And not just it's going to stay forever. When Mashiach comes, it's going to be Purim every day. Freedom every day. And that's a time to celebrate. So when we read the Megillah on Purim, this is the energy we draw in. And that's why, how do you read a Megillah? If you've been to the synagogue on Shabbat, how do you read the Torah? The Torah is rolled. Only 1-2 pages are open, and you just read it. Okay? But when you read the Megillah, first you have to open the whole scroll. Why? This is a long vav going from the upper worlds all the way down to here to show the line is open. This is the energy we install in ourselves, that energy of that line, that everything is possible. It's never lost. It's lost only when you lose it. So there's no excuse whatsoever for getting hysterical. There's no excuse whatsoever to become a mob. This is idol worshiping. The moment we get hysterical, if we have good friends, they should quiet us down. Because why hysterical? Remember, nothing happens without a reason. Everything has to be in time, and most of the times we're not aware of it. What we have to do is one thing. Our job is to keep being online. Just that. And when we do that, everything will go well. Thank you very much. Happy Purim, and a great week to all of us everywhere. Thank you so much.